Moving on, we have Nurse Witch Komugi-chan R. Okay then. Komugi Yoshida is a somewhat clumsy second-year middle school student whose strong point is her spiritedness. Excuse me. She performs as an idol like Kokona Soyonji, her classmate and close friend, and Tsukasa Kisaragi, an idol. I hate when it's split like that. An idol who dresses in male clothing. One day, a mysterious, injured creature named Usupi appears before Komugi. Usupi asks if Komugi wants to be a legendary girl who can use magical powers. Having become a reluctant legendary girl, Komugi battles strange masked figures who suddenly appear. As far as I'm aware of, again, I don't know entirely sure because bare bones research. This is I believe like a spin-off of something. Like it tends to be a thing where shows will have spin-offs where various characters become magical girls, and I think this is one of them, but I'm not positive. Again, bare bones research. But other than that, I have some staff credits. The director of the show is doing the short earlier, Oshiete Galko-chan. Same director is doing this one. Actually, I don't know if the show is a short or not. I don't think it is. I think it's actually a full-length show, but I could be wrong. But anyways, the director is doing Oshiete Galko-chan this season, but other than that, he's also done the first season of Hayate, Jinsei, Mayochiki, those kinds of shows. So if that's your style of humor, you might actually enjoy this show, because it seems like there's a pretty like clear-cut style of comedy that he does throughout all of his shows. So if that's the kind of style of comedy you like, then there you go. Though interestingly, I didn't care much for the comedy in their shows, and one of the shows he directed also was Nyankoi. So I actually like Nyankoi a lot. So maybe it's more based on the original work than his own sense of humor, for all I know. So I guess I just invalidated what I said, but that's while extremely pointless, I guess kind of the point. I'm trying to be open-minded, about whether things will be, I try and present both sides, and sometimes that just ends up canceling out everything I say. Because I guess in a way that's the point. You can't really make judgments. That's really the summary of these season previews. I should just start the season preview, say, you can't really make judgments about anything, and then just end the video. Because that's really all this is about at the end of the day. Anyways, the person who's doing the music for this show also did the Chihaya Furu, I never know how to pronounce it, music. So if you like the music in that, then you might like the music for this, just so you know. Moving on, we have Fairy Tail Zero, which is a prequel to the Fairy Tail TV series. While it's probably set up in a way that you don't have to have watched Fairy Tail to like this, like, I don't really watch Fairy Tail and I don't recognize those characters, but I guess that's not really helpful. I don't watch Fairy Tail and I don't recognize those characters. It's like, no shit. So for all I know, maybe those are important characters, but based off the main characters that I know of Fairy Tail, like, they don't look like them at all. So it's probably one of those prequels where you don't actually have to know about the show, but I'm not going to bother with the synopsis anyways, because odds are, a decent enough amount of people watch Fairy Tail where they're going to know if they should watch this or not. So really, there you go. And this is probably one of those prequels that's not the best starting point for the show, but it could also be an example of one of those shows where the prequel is better than the actual show. Fate Zero. So, incoming dislikes. So, I don't know. Anyways, point is, you probably know if you want to watch this or not. Moving on, we have Oyasan wa Shishunki? Or Shishunki. I don't know. The protagonist is living alone for the first time after finding employment. At his tiny, no-bath apartment, he finds a landlord who looks like a little sister. That's a weird description. She does the cooking and housework, so sometimes she seems like a grandmother, but she also enjoys a normal middle school life with her friends. Yeah. These are 3-minute shorts. The director who's doing this, it's his first full directing gig. Like, he's done other stuff here and there, but this is the first, show he's, been full-on director for. The guy on music did Komori-san last season, which was another short, the chick with the huge boobs. That was, the punchline of every fucking joke, which was honestly, awful. It was just as bad as I expected it to be. And he also did the music for, the BlazBlue anime, which I don't even remember. Whenever I think of BlazBlue music, I think of the game music, so I don't even remember what the music at the anime was like. God, the BlazBlue anime. I just remember it had, one episode that was actually kind of interesting in the direction it took, and then everything else was just fucking stupid and presented with no context, so if you've never played the game, you had no idea what was going on. It was whatever. This isn't about BlazBlue. This is about Oyasan wa Shishunki. It's a 3-minute short. It honestly, I should start passing on shorts now. Like, they're fucking 3-minute shorts. Like, if you care enough, you will watch the first episode of it and know if you want to keep watching or not. I typically pass on shorts, but other people don't. So if you like shorts, there you go. Moving on, we have Dimension W. In the year 2071, the world's energy problems seem solved by a network of cross-dimensional electric field words are hard, man. Of cross-dimensional electric field inductors, coils, that extract energy from a seemingly infinite source. That source is the W dimension, a fourth plane that exists beyond the X, Y, and Z dimensions. In this world, unofficial illegal coils harness powers that the police can't hope to counter. Dealing with these coils is the job of coil-hating repo man Kyoma, or whose run-in with the unique coil android Nira leads the two to form a reluctant partnership. God, I think it's just because there's so many, like, weird words in that synopsis that it's, like, tripping me up. Because normally I'm on autopilot when I read things, which is why it allows me to, like, read pretty quickly. But when you throw in a bunch of unusual words into a sentence, I just get tripped up because, like, the autocomplete that, like, is in my brain just, like, trips over itself. Anyways, I watched the first episode of this. It's weird. Like, the presentation of it is weird, and then the story itself is fucking weird. But I really, really liked it. Like, it's not even one of those things where, what was the last one I was talking about? Divine Gate. Like, Divine Gate was, like, that wasn't weird, though. That was stupid in an endearing way. Dimension W is not really stupid. It's weird, which is obviously not the same thing as being stupid. It's fucking weird. Like, as is just obvious by itself of the promo picture of the robot chick with the tail. I guess maybe that's a tiny bit of a spoiler, but it's not a huge deal in the first episode. And, like, you can kind of tell if you look closely enough. And honestly, you can guess, because it talks about a robot girl in the fucking synopsis. Interesting to note is that I watched the first episode of this, but I'm going to say some things anyways, because it'll lead into what I'm going to talk about. The director of this did quite a few Noita series. Things such as Nanana's Buried Treasure, Senai Heroine, and Bunny Drop. I think he did some other stuff, but those were the most noticeable ones. And here's the thing, is that this show's not like those. I guess Nanana kind of had some, like, action-y bits, you know, like, fast-paced kind of things in there, but for the most part, he's done shows that are just kind of, like, relaxed and slice to life. And so, his directing style in this kind of shows, I guess, as a result, it explains some of the weirdness, but I kind of like it because of the weirdness, in a way. Like, if it was a standard action director, I'd probably like it also, but the weirdness that comes with the director who hasn't done something like this before is kind of endearing, in a way. In and of itself, the show's interesting. It deals with this, like, this dude who's, like, he's like a ninja, almost. Because, I'm just saying that because he throws around, like, metal shit and, like, sticks them into people, and he throws them, like, throwing knife style. It's a technology-based show. Kinda, it seems like a large focus that's gonna be a thing. Maybe it was just the first episode though. Is that the android chick is, like, built to be, like, really human. Probably the reason why she's built to be that way is kind of explained in the first episode, just based on context clues. But it seems like something they might address is the whole thing about her being a computer, or being a cyborg essentially. Well, no, she's not a cyborg. She's an android. Androids and cyborgs are different. She's an android, but she behaves very human-like, and the main character is a dude who doesn't like the new technology stuff that's coming along. Like, one of the big things in it is that they don't deal with gasoline anymore. They're all moving to electric cars because they found this infinite energy source in this fucking weird dimension. Like I said, the show's weird, and not just in directing style. And so he doesn't like this change, though. Like, he's stuck in the old ways kind of thing. And so he comes across this android chick, which is, like, this meeting of the old world and the new world, which in and of itself is, like, this nice little conflict to have that it's going to carry throughout the show. And he doesn't really see her as a person at all. Like, oftentimes, like, in the first episode, she's doing something for a very specific reason, and he doesn't believe her. Because her reasons are emotional, and he's like, you're a fucking android, like, you're just doing this, like, all the things she's doing, like, the tears that are coming from her is just a ploy, like, it's just a device to manipulate him. And so, obviously, like, that angle of, like, you know, the android and what humanity and I guess the definition of humanity is going to be like a thing that's going to be addressed in the show, or it could just get completely sidelined. Who knows? But based on the first episode, it seems like something that'll get addressed, and I guess I should just say it's another episode. It's another show where you can watch the first episode, and if you know, you'll know if you want to watch more or not, instead of just going into detail on like everything about it. Because I want to review the episode in a way, but I can't really review it without going over things that happened in the show and talking about them. And that's a problem because this is a season preview. So I can't do that for the most part. It's a show you can watch the first episode, you'll know if you want to watch more. I liked it. It was quirky, and I liked its quirkiness. Moving on, we have Grimgar. I don't know why I skipped the first half of that title. Haite Genso no Grimgar. When Haruhito awakens, he's in the dark. He doesn't know where he is, why he is here, and where he came from. Around him, there are several men and women who have the same circumstances. Haruhito and his companions find themselves in a game-like world, parentheses, called Grimgar, and must form a party, cooperate, and learn new skills to survive the harsh environment together. I'll get the positive out of the way first. The show is very pretty. Like, that promo material is, like, I would not be, like, it's almost like a screenshot from the show. Other than the excessive particles you can see in it, like, that is how the show looks. Like, it is a very, very pretty show. It is quite gorgeous. That's about the only positive I can give it, though. It was a fucking snore fest. It was so goddamn boring. Let me put this into perspective. You know the show I mentioned before, the period piece one, Showa Gensoku or something like that? I don't know. The whole double episode one, it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to get through that, because often, you know, I'll pause things and do some other stuff and come back to it. So it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to get through that approximately 40-minute episode. Grimgar is a normal length, approximately 20-minute episode, first episode. It took me 2 hours to get through it, because I was so goddamn bored, I kept doing other things. It is, like, okay. There's shows that are slow burns like Log Horizon, I guess is the closest comparison, but I like the characters in Log Horizon, and they were interesting in how they thought about things and went about things and stuff like that. I don't give a shit about anyone in the show, except like one character. There's one character I care about, and it's probably large in part because he's the VA from Favaro from Shingeki no Bahamut, and he's bringing a lot of that into this show, so he's like the only fun character. Everyone else is fucking boring, and I don't care. I mean, maybe it's just one of those shows where you gotta watch 3 episodes and then you'll be more interested, I don't know, but oh my god. Like, normally, at least I'm, like, you know, entertained by the episodes up until the 3rd one, and then I decide from there. This one was so boring, I don't even want to subject myself to more. It was just a snooze fest. It's, like, okay, something I noticed is I'm pretty sure there were only about 5 minutes in the entire episode, not including, you know, I don't think there was an opening. Maybe there was. I don't even remember anymore. I've already blanked it from my memory. But there was an ED, which may have been the OP. That's the thing a lot of first episodes do. The ED for the first episode is actually the opening. Anyways, other than that stuff, there was like 5 minutes total. The entire episode where background music played. Everything else was fucking silent. Characters just did things or talked and no music was playing. When there were scenes that there clearly should have been music playing to make whatever was happening more interesting. They just didn't. I mentioned it before when I talked about Showa. I'm so bad with remembering titles. The Rakugo show. That was an example of good directing. The guy sat around on a thing just talking about a story for 10 minutes straight, and it was interesting because the directing was good. This is an example of the complete opposite. I mean, still not that much that happens in this show, but it's so boring. And the characters have conversations that don't even mean anything. It's largely just to introduce you to the world, or just... Most of the dialogue in this first episode is complete fluff, or completely awful comedy, which I guess is subjective. Maybe some of the jokes are funny to you. But a lot of the time it's just either introducing you to the world, or show, and stuff like that. Things you need to know from a meta audience perspective. There's literally a line in the show where he says, "Let me tell you my first memory." That's slightly paraphrased, but that's basically what he said. Like, it directly mentioned the audience because he said, "Let me tell you," like that. It's, I was angry at this episode. I feel like I'm angry because it's the one episode I've watched so far from shows where I actually did not like the first episode. I actively did not like it. Whereas others, I was just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll watch the second if I care enough. Like Haruchika. Like Haruchika I didn't care much for, but maybe I'll watch the second episode. This one, like, I almost offended by the first episode. I was that annoyed by it. It was that boring. How do I describe this more for people? In case, like, I try and accommodate for people with differing opinions so that I don't drive off people that might like the show, even though I don't. So, it's the only thing I can ever go back to is that it's pretty. That's it. Like, that's the only positive that I personally can see. And even trying to, like, think of it from a different perspective, like, it's so hard for me to come up with anything. It's just not good. It's so not good. And I think I'm maybe angry about it because a lot of the time people pass up on these kinds of shows because of Sword Art Online. When really that's not indicative of anything. Like, anything can be, like, trapped in a game world or a world that's like a game and can be interesting. Just because SAO did it and it wasn't that great doesn't mean that other shows can't do it and be good. Like, I liked Log Horizon. Quite a few people like Log Horizon. You can do it and it can be good. And so I like when shows come about and show that, almost to, like, make people eat their words for, like, people who immediately dismiss things like that. But I watched the first episode of this and it was just so boring. It was so boring. I like, legitimately almost fell asleep watching this. Like, something also that'll happen a lot. Wow, I'm running out of breath here. Not out of breath, my throat is getting parched. I'll drink some water after this episode, after I talk about this show or something. What was I saying? Wow, I lost my train of thought, but I was probably just gonna repeat myself anyways. The show was boring. It was whatever. I don't fucking care. Moving on, we have Schwarzesmarken. Schwarzesmarken, I think that's right. Schwarzesmarken is a spin-off of the Muv-Luv Alternative Total Eclipse TV series. I think it's a story presented in a way where you don't have to have seen Muv-Luv Alternative Total Eclipse, but it's also one of those things where if it's the kind of thing you're interested in, you probably already watched Muv-Luv Eclipse, and you'll want to watch this after that. It's one of those things where if you weren't interested in Muv-Luv Alternative Total Eclipse, you probably wouldn't be interested in this because it's treading a lot of the same story beats, probably. So, yeah. It's one of those shows where you probably already know if you want to watch it or not, so it's pointless for me to really go over anything. Moving on, we have Yamishibai 3rd season. More of Spooky Stories, the show. Again, if you watch the others, which it seems like barely anyone is, but barely anyone seems to be watching this, but the very few people that are seem to like it. So, I mean, that's cool. If you like it, you can watch it. I think it's also, like, individual separate stories, so I think it's actually set in a way where if you ever wanted to, like, get into it, you don't have to start from the first, episode of this. So you could just jump in on any episode, and they're self-contained little horror stories. So, that's something to think about if you ever get interested. Moving on, we have Nejiro Days, finally a non-sequel, or a spin-off, or whatever. Natsuki, Tomoya, Keiichi, and Tsuyoshi are high school students and close friends. The four boys have no club activities and they hurry through their studies so they can spend their days having fun. Their main topic of interest, love. Natsuki has an unrequited crush on Anna, a girl from another class, and his friends keep meddling in their relationship. This seems like another one of those shows where not a whole lot's gonna happen. I didn't watch it, so I took some notes though. I think the most interesting thing about this show when I took my notes is that the director did Final Fantasy. As in that, like, 1994 OVA that no one has seen, probably. Final Fantasy. And there was no music credit I could find on My Anime List or Anime News Network. So, literally, my research didn't know barely anything about the show, which may be indicative of nothing happening in the show. I don't know. This seems like the kind of show where it's just some guys hanging around and not a whole lot happens, basically. Kind of like Kimi to Boku, I guess, is the first one that comes to mind. Probably because I'm going to talk about Kimi to Boku soon. I won't explain why until we get to that, but, yeah. The only thing I know about this show is on Twitter today, someone tweeted out that apparently the show, I don't know if it's indicative of the rest of the episode, but someone said something about how, like, the staff who working on this are completely poor because they had some screenshots from the OP for the show, and literally it's pictures of, like, real world environments, and the characters from the show are just pasted onto them, like, super awkwardly. Like I kind of mentioned before with the Bungoku Baraki or whatever 3D show about how sometimes it clashes with its 2D backgrounds. This is even more clashing. Like, it's hilarious to see, like, this real environments and then these anime characters just, like, pasted there. It's like when people have, like, waifus or they're like really, really into shows. And so they'll like paste them hanging out with those characters in real life, you know, when they Photoshop them into their pictures. It looks just like that, and it's hilarious. It almost makes me want to watch the first episode because it's so funny. But I don't know if that's indicative of the rest of the episode, but that's just something I saw on Twitter that I thought was fucking hilarious. Moving on, we have it's Snow White with Red Hair, second season, which I'm excited for. I liked the first episode, or first season of Snow White with the Red Hair. It progressed faster than I expected would. I'm not going to give more context than that in case you decide you want to watch it, but I'm looking forward to this. And it's, oh my god, the show's so fucking pretty. I know it's Bones, but the thing with Bones is that, like, you know, they have pretty good animation a good chunk of the time, but the thing they're really good at is their art. Like, holy fuck, the environments in this show are amazing. Like, pretty much any shot of, like, various parts of the castle, so fucking pretty, dude. It's insane. Especially if it contains flowers, because they, like, will accommodate for all these different flower colors, and it just... oh, it's just one of those shows where, like, almost any environment shot in the show you can use as a background. It's so fucking pretty. It's fucking great. I love the art in Bones shows. Most Bones shows. There are occasional exceptions, but damn, it's good. Anyways, it's a second season. If you watch it's not even a second season. It's like a split core season, so it's even still technically part of... I don't consider split cores to be first season, second season. I consider them to be, like, the same show. It just took a break. But whatever. If you watch the first half, here's your second half. Next is TQ season 7 is fucking TQ, you know, if you want to watch TQ. Next is fucking 4th season of that show about, like, blood types being personified for whatever reason. I still don't know how that works as a joke, but anyways, here's more of it. It's a fucking 4th season, if you want to watch that. Moving on, we finally reached a new show, Maho Shoujo Nante mo I Desukara, which I think I actually pronounced somewhat decently well, but I could be horribly mistaken. Yuzuki no Hanami is a young girl who has few friends, but who can do anything. What? What kind of caveat is that? Few friends, but can do anything. Like, was it a trade-off? Like, a genie came up to her and was like, hey, you can have a lot of friends, or you can do anything. Like, what the fuck? That's so weird. Anyways, one day, Yuzuki gets accosted by a strange creature named Miton, Miton, I don't know, who is digging through a trash dump. Fuck, Miton tells Yuzuka, you have the makings of a magical girl, and seems extremely suspicious. When Yuzuka is suddenly transformed into a magical girl, she's wearing a bathing suit. So it's like a hobo is like magic and gave her powers. That's kind of funny. This show is 3-minute shorts. It's not out yet, it's at least as of recording this, but I might actually watch the first episode of this short because it seems kind of funny with, like, the magical creature not being from, like, you know, descending from heaven or whatever. It's just, like, digging through the trash, and it's like, hey, I can make you a magical girl. It seems kind of funny. Like, the comedy could be really up my alley, but I don't know. It could also be complete garbage, which is kind of funny because it dug through the trash. It could be garbage. Unintentional jokes. Anyways, they're 3-minute shorts. It's being directed... Here's the thing. The director doing this hasn't really done, like, full-on directing jobs for much. There's only one other, like, full-on directing job they did. It was Yona of the Dawn. Which is, like, how much of a kick in the nuts is it to go from directing Yona of the Dawn and being like, here, direct these 3-minute shorts about this chick who gets turned, you know, who turns into a magical girl and is in a bathing suit when it happens. Like, what a fucking turnaround. Like, I still need to finish Yona of the Dawn, but it's about this chick, you know, like, you know, having all this, you know, she's pampered and has all this taken away from her, and she needs to, you know, grow up and get strong and, you know, independent and, you know, stuff like that, and, like, you know, really make her way in the world. You know, stop living in her family's shadow in a way. And goes from that to making the girl's magic girl. She transforms, she's bathing suit. It's so bipolar. Or maybe bipolar is not the word. It's so contradictory that it's just hilarious in a way. But anyways, I mentioned Kimi to Boku getting brought up, and here it is. The music guy on this short is the guy who did the music for Kimi to Boku and Tonari no Kaibutsu-kun, which is, wow, what a fucking memory trip right there. So if you like the music for that, maybe you'll like the music from the short. I wonder if it's gonna have, like, a different track for each episode, like, with 3-minute shorts, accommodating for, like, a 30-minute opening and a 30-minute ending. That's like 2 minutes. That's like 2 minutes is a track. I wonder if he's just gonna make, like, 12 tracks and there's just gonna be a different one each episode. That'd be weird. Anyways, moving on, we have Ai no Kanata no 4 Rhythm. The discovery of anti-gravitons came the dream invention of anti-graviton shoes, Grash, that let people fly the skies. This led to the rise of the sport of flying circus, dogfight race. What the fuck? That's not even a what? Okay. The protagonist, who once hoped for a future in this sport, suffered a setback due to an overwhelming defeat and withdrew from the sport for this and some other reason. However, he met the transfer student Asuka Kirishina, and in teaching her to fly the skies, the old passion returned. He takes part in the flying circus again. So it's a dude being surrounded by a bunch of chicks, but I guess that shouldn't be too surprising considering it's a visual novel. It's probably one of those ones where, guy shows up, a bunch of different chicks show up, bangs one of them, depending on which route you take. The usual visual novel stuff. But, yeah. I wonder if this will be a best girl contest. Probably not. Visual novels don't usually end up being best girl contests. That's usually various manga. Anyways, I did some research, and, what's my research show anyways? The director for this did Achikochi and Edotama, like those kind of shows. So, this show could have a very similar vibe to those, which isn't a good sign for me, because I didn't watch Edotama, but Achikochi was not up my alley. But again, it could be a different tone from that, Anyone can make any kind of show. So, well, I don't mean that anyone can make any kind of show, but I mean anyone can make a good show, anyone can make a bad show. So, I guess that doesn't really mean anything. What's interesting about this, though, is that there are 3 people listed as chief animation directors, which is really interesting. I guess that's why I want to watch the first episode of it, because with 3 chief animation directors, maybe there's a lot of attention being played to the whole flying aspect. Maybe not. I imagine there's going to be some scenes where they're flying outside of that sport that they mentioned, but I imagine the sport-like scenes where things happen, the flying circus or whatever, could have pretty good animation. You have 3 different animation directors on board. So that could be interesting to see. Yeah. The music is being, I don't know where I was going with that. The music is being done by Elements Garden, or the same people who did stuff like the music for Dance with Devils, Udapri. They're like an orchestra studio in a way, so they do that kind of stuff. They do catchy as fuck music. But sometimes they also do random shows where it's like not that catchy and it's weird. I don't know. Anyone can make good stuff, anyone can make bad stuff, I suppose. Returning to that. Yeah, I want to watch the first episode of this because with the 3 chief animation directors on board, I want to see what they do animation-wise. They could be something interesting. I mean, I'm not expecting like One Punch Man levels of animation, but if there's like some surprising attention to detail, that kind of stuff, it'd be a step up from usual visual novel adaptations, which tend to be very uninspired. So there's that. If the flying stuff looks really cool, it could be neat. Moving on, we have Saichaku Muhai no Bahamut, and I'm full on back in season preview mode because none of this stuff is aired yet as of recording this. It might take a day for me to get this edited because fucking hell. What was I gonna say? Lux, the synopsis. Lux is a former prince of an empire named Arcadia that was overthrown via a rebellion 5 years earlier. Lux accidentally trespasses in a female dormitory's bathing area, sees the kingdom's new princess Li Shart naked, and incurs her wrath. Li Shart then challenges Lux to a drag ride duel. Drag rides are ancient armored mechanical weapons that have been excavated from ruins all around the world. After his duel with Li Shart, Lux ends up attending the female-only academy that trains royals to be drag knights. Now, this seems like your typical, stupid show where the guy, like, it even starts off, it's like, hey, he sees her naked and blah, blah, blah. That usual thing. It's, it seems like that kind of show. You're like, oh, good, another one of these shows. The guy sees her naked, and then he gets brought into the all-girls thing, and then, oh, harem. And honestly, that is the tag, So, and so you expect that kind of thing, but here's the kicker. Here's one of those things where it's like, based on the promo image synopsis, you're like, whatever. But now I'm going to throw you through a loop with the staff members. And I mean, again, I did mention any staff member could do a bad show and a good show, but I like to keep these things even and make things interesting. So, here's the staff. First thing to note is that being listed on 3D CG production is Studio Orange. And they're that studio that makes the CG mech fights fucking awesome in the Code Geass OVAs and the Majestic Prince show, to name a couple. Their CG, especially when it comes to like mech fights and stuff like that, are fucking amazing. So they tend to be like, as far as like 3D CG coming like, full force in the anime scene, like Studio Orange is leading the pack when it comes to that shit looking good. So they're listed on 3D CG production. And assuming that's not a mistake, because they're listed as like all kinds of shit on all kinds of shows, and sometimes they don't actually do the 3D CG production. But this seems like the case, like with them being actually listed as, on board. But I'm assuming, I checked, like they're even listed in the usual spot. That means that they're actually doing the CG when I checked the Anime News Network credits. But I don't know, it could just be a mistake. Anyways, I'm assuming that's correct, but even beyond just that, the director for this did White Album 2, which a lot of people seem to like even more. Like, I remember people didn't care too much for the original White Album. White Album 2 came out, and people were like, this is actually pretty good. And the director also did most recently Gakugarashi, which was something quite a few people liked there too. So it's like, hey, director's, pretty interesting on board for this. And then there is a music guy who did the music for Glasslip, Norin, and especially Sound Euphonium. Which is interesting. Like, Glasslip was fucking awful story-wise, like nothing happened, but the music was good. So, as far as what I can recall of it. So, music-wise, also pretty fucking solid. Like, staff-wise, this show is like, this seems like the show that despite its, what it's trying to be, could be, dragged kicking and screaming into quality territory, for all we fucking know. Like, I guess I should clarify, though. I do not expect the story of this to be any good. Like, that whole thing about him, dropping on her naked, blah, 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 it's whatever, and stupid. Like, it's all gonna be trite bullshit, and it's probably gonna suck. And story-wise, that's a summary of how everything gets set up. Maybe after that it gets good. But story-wise, especially, like, setting-wise, I don't expect to be blown away. But what I will be looking out for is, because the director saw it, I will be looking out for the directing being really neat. Like, neat little directing bits are often enough to keep me going, even in shows that are, uninspired, any other way. Good directing bits are enough to keep me going. And I'll be looking for the 3D CG from Studio Orange. And I'll be listening to the music. So even if, they can't improve the story and such like that at all, based on the synopsis, then I'll be looking for those bits in the show. So, hey, just something to think about. Moving on, we have Konosubarashi Sekai no Shuku Wo. There are a couple shows that have the word shukufuku in them, and I always, in my head, instantly, not translate it, but phonetically say it as shakafuka, just because of all the U's. Just ignoring it. I don't know. My sense of humor is amazing. Moving on, the synopsis. Kazuma Sato is a hikikomori shut-in, diehard fan of games, anime, and manga. A traffic accident brings his disappointingly brief life to an end, or it should have, but he wakes up and sees a beautiful girl who introduces herself as a goddess. She asks him if he'd like to go to another world, but he can only bring one thing with him. Kazuma chooses to bring the goddess. With that, he is transported to another world, and his great adventure subjugating the Demon King begins. So, just based off that synopsis, I guess this is, from a slightly different angle, another one of those shows. Maybe it could have a best girl contest. From what I've seen in various teasers and stuff like that, there's quite a few female characters, so. But again, I guess that would actually rely on people actually watching and caring about this show, which I don't see happening. But what do I know? Staff-wise, what did I have? The director for this show did Tokyo Ravens and both seasons of Korewa Zanbu Desuka, Korean Zombie Desk Car, as people lovingly call it. So there's that, if you liked those. What's more interesting, at least to me, is that the guy on music for this did, music for Arpeggio of Blue Steel, Maria the Virgin Witch, but also he's mainly done video game stuff. Most recently, he's done the soundtracks for Monster Hunter 4 and Wonderful 101, among others. He's done a decent amount of the Monster Hunter soundtracks. He also did some of the Devil May Cry stuff. I don't know if he did the more recent ones, but I think he did the same music for the second one, even though no one cares about that one. I don't know if he did the first one. He may have done the first one, too, unless they changed music people for that one. I don't know. But he's done quite a few games. So it could be interesting to see his approach to the soundtrack on this. So this might be a show that I don't know if I'd watch it, but I'd keep an eye out for the music for at least. It's something I'll probably watch the first episode of and decide if I want to keep going or not, but which I probably won't, but even if I don't, I'll probably watch out for the music, and if I do watch it, I'll probably still keep out an ear out for the music, because it could be potentially quite interesting. Moving on, we have Ajin. Or Ajin? Ajin? I don't fucking know. 17 years ago, immortals first appeared in the battlefields of Africa. Later, rare, unknown, new immortal life forms began appearing among humans, and they became known as Ajin, or Ajin, demi-humans. Just before summer vacation, a Japanese high school student is instantly killed in a traffic accident on his way home from school. However, he is revived, and a price is placed on his head. I feel like I just read the synopsis. At least the revived part. Thus begins a boy's life on the run from all of humankind. Interesting that we have two shows about being killed and then revived, or not actually dying when they're killed. I don't know how I want to explain it. First thing to note, I don't know if you can tell from the promo image, it might not actually be the case, but this show is being done by the guys behind Knights of Sidonia. Not literally staff-wise, but the production studio. So it is CG in the same style as Knights of Sidonia. Slightly different because obviously it's not the same series. It's a different one. But it's done in the similar enough CG style of Knights of Sidonia. So if that's a turn off for you, you probably don't want to watch. But on the other hand, it is an adaptation of a manga that a lot of people like. I don't remember how old it is, but it's a pretty popular manga. Like, it's not even getting just this TV anime, it's also getting like 3 movies. Also being done by, pretty sure, all of the same staff. Those movies are coming out after this. I don't know if this TV anime is going to be a prequel to the 3 movies, or if it's or the 3 movies are going to tell the same story, or what. But, it's, even, if you're averse to CG, it might be something you want to watch, just because story-wise, it's quite popular. Basically, kid getting, demi-human attracted to him, and then, fucking going crazy with power or something like that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I haven't read it at all or anything. I don't want to spoil myself. What do I have staff-wise? The director is relatively new. He didn't do it. It's not the Knights of Sidonia director or anything like that. He did like an OVA, but he also did a movie no one's heard of called Gambo about this bear. I haven't actually watched it. I just saw the promo image. It looked kind of neat, actually. I might look it up. But yeah, some movie no one's heard of. And, but more interesting is on music is the guy who did the stuff for JoJo Stardust Crusaders. He's also doing the, Diamond is Unbreakable soundtrack too, when that's coming out. And he also did both seasons of Psycho-Pass's music too. So, dude does pretty solid music. So, if this is a show you don't end up watching, it could be, again, a soundtrack you might want to keep an eye out or ear out for if it's the kind of music you like. Something to just pay attention to or whatever. That's all I can say about Ajin. It's the same CG style of Knights of Sidonia, but it's a really popular manga. I don't know. Make your own call if you want to watch it or not. I'd say. I'm not a 2D purist, so I would say give it a shot, but for other people, they just can't stand CG, so I don't fucking know. Make your own damn call. Maybe that's how I should actually start the season previews. Hey, welcome to the season preview. Make your own fucking opinion and just end the video. No, I'm not here to tell you what, like I said, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just here to help out a bit, Like, use my words that I say that come out of my brain without a filter as a springboard for your own thoughts. Don't just, good God, no, don't take anything I say in these previews as, like, your thoughts. Sweet Jesus, that'd be embarrassing. If I had an actual filter, like having to write a script, like none of this shit I'm saying would make it into it. It's just complete stream of consciousness, which is why I need scripts for literally everything. I just can't do a script for this. It'd be way too much fucking work. It'd be insane. I would never get these done. Anyways, I got a little sidetracked there. Moving on, we have this little bottom row, actually. I'm just not even gonna bother, except I guess I can briefly go over Konodanshi Maho ga Oshigoto Desu. The story revolves around Shiharu, a wizard in charge of the magic department's countermeasure division. He meets a candid young man named Toyohi at his favorite bar, and the two hit it off. On their way home, Toyohi suddenly confesses to Chiharu. Chiharu is at first bewildered at his unexpected confession, but he starts to fall into Toyohi's pace, and the two begin to spend more time together. However, after a mistake at work, Chiharu decides to devote himself to his work and pushes Toyohi away. It's Shonen Ai, so like kind of like, well, I was about to say gay undertones, but it's more like gay overtones, if that's your kind of thing. But it's the only show in this like entire bottom row, other than I'll get to it in a second. That I feel like I could really say anything about. But I looked up information on it, and it's like a 4-episode show, which is fucking weird. It's only getting 4 episodes. I don't know if they're gonna be like really long episodes or what, but it's only listed to have 4 episodes. And even though I've never heard of this thing has like 3 other OVAs. So maybe it's actually kind of popular? I have no idea. I didn't even know the 3 other OVAs existed. I don't know how old they were. I didn't check. I probably should have. But I guess this is a thing that exists if you're interested. It's an original work, though, which is weird, considering there are 3 other OVAs, but maybe the other OVAs are also original? I have no idea. It's confusing. Like I said, and even just the 4 episodes being listed as right there is like weird enough. Maybe it's one of those things where it doesn't actually air on TV. It just gets posted online or something. I mean, that's why it's only going to have 4 episodes. I don't know. But other than that, in the bottom row, the only other thing here is a Precure show, and it's fucking pointless to go over Precure because if you're going to watch Precure or not. Like, I don't watch Precure, so I can't offer any insightful analysis at all on any of it, and the people who like Precure pretty much watch it all anyways, so it's pointless for me to even say anything. So just saving time and not going over it at all. But that's it. Everything else is like, Blu-ray, DVD, OEA specials, stuff like that. Some various movies. Nothing to really talk about at all. Yeah, like I'm just glancing at the movies, but I'm not gonna fucking talk about any of the fucking movies here. There's nothing here for me to talk about. That's it for the season preview. I need to cut it shorter anyway so that I can get this done. It's slightly longer than I would have liked it to be. Honestly, this is going to be hilarious. I wanted this to be an hour, but that's because I thought the whole first episode watching thing would make this go faster, when in actuality, it made me have more things to ramble about. That was a mistake. So, maybe this new format isn't good after all, but I don't know. Maybe you should just tell me. Like, did you think this was more helpful having me watch the first episode of stuff? Like, I gave more helpful thoughts? Or do you think I should just go back to going off of the synopsis and the pictures? Don't let the time frame be a judgment. Like, if you actually did enjoy having the first episode thoughts, but because it's later and you don't want to wait for it to come out later, you're going to say otherwise, then don't do that. Like, I want honest opinions. And just because if it doesn't even guarantee anything anyways, like even if a lot of people like me have watched the first episode after doing this, I may not do it anyways after what fucking train wreck this was of going stupid long. It may not even be a thing even if, like, unless it's like unanimous and people just love that I did the first episode for some of them, then maybe I would consider doing it, but I don't know. I just want honest opinions anyways. If me having watched the first episode for some stuff helped a lot, or if it was better that I didn't. I figured it would because I could give more thought on, what happens in the episode and whether you could watch it or not, but I don't know. That's why I'm asking for opinions anyways. This is going on. I'm making this go on too long. I need to stop this so I have less to edit because, sweet Christ, I don't like editing these things as it is already. Season preview, more anime that people, why were people dismissing the season without even watching any of the episodes of it? But I guess that happens every fucking season. Everyone's like, oh, this looks like a bad season, this looks like a dry season, blah, 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 and then fucking shows hadn't even aired yet, so then they get proven wrong when they inevitably actually watch some shows. It happens every season. Fucking everyone does it. It's just like people at the end of every year are like, well, this season sucked for anime. I don't know what it is with the negative attitude with anime. I guess because someone pointed out, anime is dying. Yep, anime is fucking dying. It's just so dead. It's dying right in my arms. Anyways, that was the season preview. I'm sorry that I can never stop talking. I'm gonna go now.